Exactly. It's me, Bussy. And welcome back to my channel. Orange and glad I'm back. And just in time too to spill the tea about the queen in everyone's mouth. No, not me this time. Maddy Morphosis. We'll be breaking down her casting in the newly announced Drag Race Season 14 and discussing what it means for the future of the franchise to have a cisgendered heterosexual male competing for the crown. RuPaul really does know how to get us talking, doesn't she? Today's video is gonna be a doozy, so make sure to strap in and strap up. But before we get started, a quick message from today's video sponsor, Step, a new digital banking platform designed for the next generation in mind. Back in my day, there was no one to teach us about money. If only my family had helped me to get a Step Visa card to help me track my expenses and manage money via their beautiful and easy to use mobile app. And not only is Step an amazing tool to help teach teens about money, but it's perfect for them because Step accounts have zero fees. And every account is protected by Visa's fraud protection and zero liability guarantee. Plus, working teens can get paid up to 2 days early when they set up direct deposit with their Step account. And rest assured, every Step account is FDIC insured up to $250,000. So what are you waiting for? Treat yourself to some peace of mind and get your teen a zero-fee Step Visa card this holiday season by clicking the link in the description of this video. Plus, when you use my link to sign up with Step, you'll get $10 added to your account. Thanks, Step, for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's break it down. Let's begin by answering the question, what is drag? And what is Drag Race? Drag itself can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but since this is a Drag Race centric channel, we'll be defining the word through the lens of Mother Ru's eyes. Her simplest way of defining drag is you're born naked and the rest is drag, which basically means to say that your entire life is a performance and the world is your stage. From womb to death drop, right into your coffin. And a more elaborate definition of the word drag from RuPaul's masterclass says that drag is a gender-bending art form in which a person dresses in clothing and makeup meant to exaggerate a specific gender identity, usually of the opposite sex. And this masterclass definition goes on to explain that drag is most often used as a form of entertainment, performance, and most importantly, celebration of LGBTQA+ pride. And the first person to ever describe themselves as a drag queen as we know the art form today was William Dorsey, who was an American gay liberation activist born into slavery actually in 1858. And the first popular male impersonator, what we might call a drag king today, was Annie Hindle. They started performing in New York in 1867, who, fun fact, actually married multiple women in a time of non-legal gay marriages by dressing up as a man in the courthouses. And Drag Race, as you know, is a competition started by RuPaul to find America's next drag superstar. At its core, I'd say the show is about love, inclusion, and the art of drag. And the Drag Race franchise as a whole is responsible for launching the careers of literally hundreds of drag artists, all of whom, by my count, have up until this point been open members of the LGBTQ+ community. Maddy's casting changes all of that forever. And upon the announcement of the inclusion of a heterosexual cast member in season 14, the Drag Race fandom immediately went up in flames, as it does so often with the slightest breeze. And amongst the burning embers of the Reddit debates concerning Maddy Morphosis, two main questions stood out to me. Can straight people do drag? And should straight people be competing on RuPaul's Drag Race? And when I realized all the online controversy boiled down to those two main questions, I couldn't help but notice that these were essentially the same discussions that people were having about women doing drag when Victoria Skye was revealed to be cast on season 3 of Drag Race UK, and about trans women concerning Vanessa Von Cartier on Drag Race Holland season 2, for example. And to me, the pattern and problem were obvious. The othering of these contestants by parts of the fan base, not all, I think has largely been the problem of Drag Race itself. The franchise is a trend maker in the space of drag. In fact, there are many fans of the show who could probably name every winner off the top of their head, but has never actually gone and seen a real live local drag show. And therein, I think, lies the problem. Drag Race built its brand, for the most part, on gay men dressing up as pretty ladies. And for most of its history, didn't showcase other types of drag, and that different types of people could do drag. I mean, even RuPaul himself once infamously compared trans queens to athletes doping in the Olympics, which is of course completely ridiculous in and of itself because this show has never been about who can present the most like a woman in drag. It's always been about the challenges, you know? That was several years ago though, and I do think we have to applaud and recognize that Ru and the franchise as a whole have been making huge strides in the diversity realm of casting. So firstly, can straight people do drag? By Ru's definition, yes. And not only can straight people do drag, but oh my god, are they doing it? When you take a look around at westernized Hollywood pop culture, you'll realize that it's kind of everywhere. For example, Tyler Perry's Madea character, Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire, Marlon and Shawn Wayans in White Chicks, Chris Lilly as Jeté, Private Schoolgirl, Nick Kroll as Liz in Publicity, and countless more. And those examples are the type of drag that I would call entertainment value drag. Not necessarily done to uplift or promote LGBTQ+ community values, but simply done to have a laugh and subvert norms. However, straight men do also have a history of acting in drag roles that celebrate more traditional drag, we'll say, or drag that uplifts and celebrates LGBTQ+ values. For example, Tu Wong Fu and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And I'd say not only was queer culture celebrated and uplifted in those movies, but those movies became pop culture staples responsible for setting trends in the drag community. And before drag played by straight men in modern pop culture, I'd say that straight men had a pretty rich history of dressing up as women in theater. For example, more recently British Panto, and way back in Greece when men would play the roles of women in the theater. Which they did, of course, because they didn't respect women enough to actually let them on stage, but that is a whole other topic completely. And one of Dragula's most beloved alumni, Disasterina, is straight man, married with kids. I'm imagining the 12-year-old Drag Race fans are clutching their pearls as I speak. Anyhow, whether or not someone thinks a straight cis man can or can't do drag, the point is moot. They've been doing it, sis. At least by RuPaul's own definition of the term. So now that we've established that straight men can do drag, let's move into the next topic. Should straight men be competing on RuPaul's Drag Race? This is where things get juicy. The most salient argument that I've seen in opposition to casting straight people on Drag Race is that casting a straight queen does ultimately take a valuable platform spot from a member of the LGBTQ+ community. And that argument is definitely not without its merit. For far too long, the entertainment industry has platformed heterosexual people in the roles of LGBTQ+ characters. For example, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and Tu Wong Fu that we talked about earlier. And in a wider non-drag related sense, we even have people like Eric McKinnon, who played Will from Will and Grace, the main gay character, actually being heterosexual. RuPaul's Drag Race, on the other hand, has been a boon for LGBTQ+ people looking to get a platform or step up in the entertainment industry. Simply put, there is no other show that has platformed so many queer people. I even saw someone online comparing Maddy's casting to replacing JVN with a straight man on Queer Eye, which is an interesting comparison, although I don't think holds its weight because JVN is like, what, 1/4 or 5th of the entire cast? Not 1/14th like in Maddy's case, or 1/180th in the case of just US seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, we're talking about 0.5% of every drag queen that's been on the show being heterosexual, which is hardly a heterosexual gentrification of our small, tiny, queer neighborhood that we call RuPaul's Drag Race. And I also think people are quick to forget that the show has indeed platformed and showcased straight people many a time before. Bryce, one of the pit crew, is straight, and do y'all remember Wintergreen? She was Peppermint's makeover partner. And if I remember correctly, I remember people campaigning for Wintergreen to appear on the next season like nobody else. And girl, straight as could be. Not to mention, several of the show's spin-offs have featured heterosexual people, like in, dare I say it, Secret Celebrity Drag Race. Sorry, I just had flashbacks. Or Drag U. That really was a rough spot, huh? But in all seriousness, I do understand how that could be a problem. Drag Race has only been on for like 13, 14 years, and we've got hundreds of years to make up for in terms of LGBTQ+ representation. Like, I 100% get why so many people are looking at this like a betrayal, especially on a show that admittedly, as we talked about earlier, hasn't been the quickest in the past to keep up with the modern advancements in language. We'll say with, like, for example, using the T slur on early seasons. And while there are plenty of trans queens in the alumni of Drag Race, it's only recently, well, season 13 and now season 14, that we're seeing these queens come into the cast openly and proudly declaring that they are loud, proud, and trans. And it's beautiful to see. And spoiler alert, but Kylie just won All-Stars, and Vanessa Van Cartier won Hall in season 2, both openly trans competitors. The franchise is making progress, and it's exciting to see. But let's get back to the point at hand. Are we being betrayed by Maddy's casting? I would say no, because at the end of the day, doing drag is not an identity. It's a performance, a celebration of gender, a celebration of LGBTQ+ pride, or in a larger sense, sometimes just a celebration and mockery of pop culture. Yes, drag is indubiously a quintessential cornerstone of queer culture. However, straight people have been doing drag and probably will continue to do drag whether or not they are represented on Drag Race. And speaking of representation, I think everybody deserves some. Is 1 out of 180 enough? I don't know. well, I don't know how many straight queens there are out in the clubs performing that really want to be on the show, but needless to say, I'm happy to see it and proud of Drag Race for branching out. Drag is an art form that seeks to subvert norms at its core and is inherently political. I think it should challenge people when they see it. And while drag may seem super normalized in the LGBTQ+ community, I think we should take a step back and realize that the heterosexual community doesn't necessarily feel the same way that we do about, putting wigs and shit like that and talking to cameras on YouTube. That is to say, I love all my straights watching, but there are many straights that move a lot slower than progressive communities like ours do. For example, Harry Styles. While he's doing nothing new by the standards of fashion icons like Billy Porter, he is being celebrated in his circles because he is subverting norms. And personally, I'm happy to take any wins that I can get outside of our bubble. And finally, for anyone still pondering this question, I have to say that I'm sorry because Drag Race has already decided for you. Should heterosexual queens compete? They said yes. And finally, I'm gonna leave y'all with some food for thought to chew on. I feel like I've always proudly bragged about how the LGBTQ community is built on pillars of inclusion and acceptance, which includes all sexual orientations, all gender identities, and even allies. Allies like Maddy, who, from what I can tell so far, is somebody who is choosing to celebrate and uplift pieces of culture within our community that she enjoys. And it's important, I think, that we always leave room for allies in our little queer bubble because allies can open doors that we can't and speak up in rooms where we don't have voices. I think our community is ultimately served better by keeping our gates open rather than closed. And with that, I open my arms to Maddy Morphosis and drag of all kinds. And surprise, surprise, you're getting the best of both worlds today. After I originally filmed my video, Maddy finally spoke out, giving us her thoughts on the fans' reaction to her casting so far. She wrote, "Hi everyone, I just wanted to take a moment and talk about a few things regarding myself, the show, and the reaction. Obviously, with short clips and snippets, you don't get a full sense of who someone is or their story. I entered the scene shortly after high school because it was a safe space for me to explore my own gender identity. The people I met and the experiences I had helped me understand more about gender and sexuality, what it meant to me, and where I fit in with everything. Drag wasn't even something I considered when I first started going out. It was something that just happens to be in the scene I was in that I fell in love with. But doing drag the past 5 years has given me even more opportunities to further explore my own identity and also understand more about others. The concepts of masculine and feminine are arbitrary and made up, and the rigid line drawn between them just feeds the stigma of men who embrace femininity and perpetuates the cycle of toxic masculinity. If there's a message that I hope to convey to people, it's that you don't have to inhabit the box society puts you in just to be comfortable in your own sexuality. I'm not here to show the world that straight guys can do drag. For anyone saying that I'm representing an underrepresented group, I appreciate you, but straight men are not a persecuted and excluded group within the drag community. I've always felt welcomed in every drag space I've entered and have never been shunned, excluded, or persecuted because of my sexuality. But I know many entertainers who have been discriminated against for being AFAB, trans, POC, and more. I think one of the best things to come out of my casting is that it's kicking up a lot more talk about representation in the drag scene, and I hope that it helps lead to more marginalized groups being showcased and represented. Thank you to everyone who has sent me love and support. Thank you, MM. So there you have it, the community's thoughts, my thoughts, and Maddy's thoughts. The only ones missing are yours, so don't be shy to let me know how you're feeling in the comments down below about Drag Race's first heterosexual contestant. And as always, I want to say thanks to you for watching today's video sponsor, and my generous patrons for making my channel possible. You can join my Patreon and help support the channel by clicking the link in the description of this video and visiting patreon.com/bussyqueen. That's my members only website where my patron family gets exclusive member benefits like early access to my videos, access to exclusive videos, and access to the Bussy Queen Discord server. See you there. And I want to give a special shout out to Sebastian Wolf, Corinne Adams, Alial, Angel, Cyrus Felicia, Cody P, Hector, JB Joseph, Josh Marchant, JP in Dallas, Laura Lissette, Matthew Burns, Maxie Lwow, Miss F Neely, Scooby Snacks, Sailor, Steven, Tom Jaco, Tom Young, Topher, Triton, and Wheelie, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier. See you later. Love ya. Bye.